originally just wanted to donate points for the team. Random fun beast facts. Is there like a topic beyond just beastmen? A specific question would be nice. And some info on Slug Tongue. Sure. So, Slug Tongue, Slug Tongue is kind of interesting for a lot of reasons. Probably, like, the biggest thing that jumps to mind immediately when it's talking about Slug Tongue, is that Slug Tongue is... There are some very unique aspects about him, mainly revolving around that. Unlike a lot of Beastman characters, Slug Tongue is not. So when you're dealing with a lot of the Beastman characters, they are like, with the exception of Mortar, they're kind of like mortal entities, right? You have Moonclaw, who was born from the moon. You have, but other than that, a lot of the characters, we have an origin for them. We know, generally speaking, where they came from, what they represent quite well, and they have kind of a mortalish aspect to them. An exception to this is Slug Tongue. Slug Tongue is not really like a typical creature. He is something significantly darker. In that Slug Tongue, first of all, is incredibly intelligent. Like, he is so much more dangerous than almost any other beastman, with a few exceptions. Because the thing about Slug Tongue is Slug Tongue has a very, like, he's like, you would probably be able, assuming you can speak the language you were speaking, could probably have like a very interesting philosophical discussion with Slug Tongue, because that's how intelligent he is, and he has such a fundamental understanding of like humans and the world at large. Which Slug Tongue, for those who don't know, Slug Tongue is a physical incarnation of the concept of famine. He's known as the Famine Fiend. And he's pretty nasty to look at, because he doesn't have any flesh or meaty bits in the entirety of his head. His head is just a skull. But despite that, he's said to have like a really grotesque, large tongue, and he walks from place to place as like this hunched over, wizard-looking individual who brings the curse of famine with him wherever he goes. And as part of that, he's not like actively casting to generate famine. It's just what he is, famine. So wherever he goes, famine follows him. He's followed by like plagues of locusts and unseasonable weather and like strange diseases, things that cause people to wither away and suffer from like really horrible symptoms and diseases, and he causes crops to rot away and animals to wither and die, and that is he is a complete embodiment of that idea, but he also revels in it. So he's not like Morger, right? Where Morger is not really always very aware. Actually, I'd say most of the time, Morger is not terribly aware of the mortal worlds around him, because he sees the world more through like a godly lens. So it makes the actual reality really difficult for him to see a lot of the time, which is why he's like constantly altering it, because he has an innate power to make it reflect the way he sees it. Slugtongue, however, is like keenly aware and present in the physical world, always. And he enjoys, like, he's very, very clever, and he takes a lot of very spiteful, sinister satisfaction out of wandering to a new place and allowing his power to start affecting whatever new land he's traveled to, where the farms start to wither and the animals begin to sicken and die, and people start getting debilitating illnesses. Pregnant women like have miscarriages, and children become so skinny that if they try to eat, it causes them to die because of like refeeding syndrome. And like people can't sleep and they can't rest, and Slugtongue wants you to know that he's there. Like, he wants you to be actively aware that he is in the vicinity, and that he is actively doing what he can to make your life horrible suffering, because he wants to draw people out. His kind of MO, like his go-to tactic, is that he will show up in an area and use his powers of famine to start messing with them, like taking away their food, essentially kind of laying siege to them in a way, and making them so angry and so desperate that they leave behind their defenses, they leave behind their cities and towns, and they go out to track down Slugtongue to put an end to him, in the hopes that with his death, you know, whatever the curse is will end. But what they don't realize, but the tragic part is that by the time many people are desperate enough that they're willing to face Morger, it's too late by then. Because by that point, they've been so weakened by sickness and famine, that they're a shadow of their former selves, and they will go out to they'll find him standing before like a massive army of beastmen who are in tip-top shape because they're not affected by Slugtongue's famine. They're able to thrive in the ruination that he creates. So when they finally go out to fight, it's a massacre. And there's Slugtongue just sitting up where he can watch it all, laughing because there was nothing they could have done. And he finds like quite a bit of pleasure in that. But yeah, he is a nasty piece of work. And yeah, not only does he have like just a terrifying skull for a face, but his skin is all like withered and ragged with like holes and lesions in it, and he is constantly covered in insects. So like millipedes and centipedes and lice and ticks are just all the different like parasitic and like really disgusting insects are always crawling in and around him and like attack people that get too close to him. So he's hard to deal with for a number of reasons. He's very Nurgle themed. He's a very interesting concept of Nurgle because he's more on like the skinny side, so to speak. You know, he's not the typical like wet marsh garden, but he does bring about that cycle of decay.
They're there. Please
Are you kidding me? How the fuck did you even get in here? Who's... Oh! It's these three again. I get to try and redeem myself in a dungeon.
We came here to purge this evil, but now...
It's literally the exact same trio.
My friends here.
Worry not. I'll save
like
you.
this.
I'll save you this time.
We can't do it alone.
They're here! Get ready!
Only way out of this is to fight.
I lack the required essence.
No! We've lost someone!
Oh my god!
There are too many!
It's the fucking sorcerers, dude.
I'm low on essence.
I saved one of them.
Something for your troubles.
I saved a single one. And that's hard. That's a really hard quest because they die instantly. If they get too many dudes on them. Brutal. But at least we saved one of them. We did better than last time. On a scale of 1 to 12, how much does mommy energy does Lilith radiate? I would say like a pretty solid 11 based on what I've seen so far, but we've only seen the very like tip of the iceberg. Are there any Lisbon characters that weren't mentioned in Warhammer lore that are pretty cool? That how would a character exist if they're not mentioned in the lore? What's the system there? That's really the only way we know about anybody. Where the hell are the boxes? I don't know if I'm a big fan of this curse, to be honest. Oh, here's one. Okay. I'm just dumb. All right. All right, we got the box. What's in the box? Yeah, we fully explored this section. have I seen PoE skill tree that isn't new player friendly? Oh, any idea? You were answering a question. Yeah, I would agree that like PoE. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but like anytime I would look at it, like and consider playing it, the second you see like the skill trees and just like it's just a massive amount of fucking information, like a drowning amount of information. To me, it really felt like it was. I think PoE catered a little too hard to like its really hardcore community, which is fine for like that community. That game is awesome for them and they love it a lot, but I don't think it's gonna have like the far-reaching impact that like Diablo does, because Diablo is can be much more of a casual experience, and it doesn't require you to do like hours of research to like figure out how your build's gonna work. Also, to my understanding, PoE is much less about like a story. Like it's not about like the story and the cutscenes and the lore. It's about the gameplay loop, which is great for gamers, but like that's kind of where that roller coaster ends. Is that, you know, it's not gonna, like, what sucks me into Diablo is the setting. Like the lore, the setting.
God. So good.
Bummer. It's interesting that we're like actually finding people in the dungeons. Keep hitting the wrong button. Ah, we got skeleton mages. Fuck yeah, boy. Do I go for the stun? For the... Yeah, sure, we'll go for the stun. Yeah, we got skeleton wizards. Can I explain the winds of magic? I don't understand how there are 8 winds, but every faction has their own unique lore. So the first thing to understand about the winds of magic is that the winds of magic are just energy, right? They're literally just pure, it's just energy. Like it is power from a dimension where energy is the only thing that exists, but it is infinite. So not only is it a universe of energy, but it's a universe of infinite energy. That energy can be shaped into anything. As long as you understand how to do it, you understand like what you're working with and what you're trying to do. There is like no real limit to what you can accomplish by wielding the raw power of chaos, also known as magic. However, that universe, this dimension, all that we know as the realm of chaos or the ether, this realm of magic, has its own set of like laws that are very difficult for mortals to understand. Because they don't follow the laws of our universe. When the old ones and the later implosion of the polar gates tore open the vortex or the polar gates, it created a permanent rift in reality that connects our realm, oh Jesus, to that of the chaos dimension. So the thing is though, whenever anything from the realm of chaos crosses over into our world, whether that be demons or magic, once it makes that crossing and it arrives in our world, it has to behave by our laws. All right, here we go. Necromancer's coffin, let's do it. This guy's a joke. Sucks to suck, dude. Damaging an elite enemy grants you a barrier. Oh, nice. We can actually use that one. They don't drop chests, right? No, it's just whatever loot they drop. And he drops some freaking garbage. So anyway, so when chaos comes into our world, and all of the winds of magic enter into our reality, what we know is the winds of magic, which is this force, right? Oh, nice. This pulse of divine energy, when it comes into our world, it is forced to abide by our rules, which what that causes is it causes this stream of energy to split. So it tears itself apart into 8 distinct winds. So it goes from being one whole comprehensive force or piece into 8 that are each drawn to different things. So each of the 8 winds of magic are drawn to different concepts, different emotions, different forces in the world. And
anything else?
Those are what we understand as the battle lores. So those are like the basic lores of magic. However, those are not the only forms of magic that exist in the world. Those are only like magic as it naturally appears in the world. The other form of quote unquote natural magic that sometimes appears is Dar, or dark magic. But dark magic is basically that sometimes, well, a lot of times, magic will gather in places where it's not easily able to flow out of. So instead of magic coming out of the portals and slowly but inexorably being drawn into the vortex at the heart of Ulthuan, sometimes they get stuck. Maybe because like the pathway they're following, the pathway of waystones that's supposed to lead them to the vortex has been disrupted somehow, or some like horrible event has happened where magic is being gathered in an area, and when magic starts to gather in an area and it can no longer freely flow, it starts to stagnate. And when magic stagnates, it becomes significantly heavier, and it basically starts to crush inward on itself, and that is what dark magic is. Dark magic is a very blunt but powerful form of magic where you just crush the winds together without any concern for any form of like balance or understanding. Tell me of extraction and imprinting.
As I'm sure you know, even seemingly mundane objects sometimes contain great power. I can help you wrest that power free. The process will break down the original object, leaving behind the pure aspect of its mystical power. You might think of it as ripping the soul from one body and transferring it to another. Not that I would ever dream of such a thing. Certainly not within earshot of the cathedral.
Excuse me.
I can take common, turn it special.
Unfortunately, I have not come across any legendary items yet. In any event,
You see those fools up at the cathedral? Groveling, crying like dogs.
Precious stones to catch the light. Come and see.
that is significantly better than mine, but also costs a just stupid amount of money, so I'm not going to do that. But in any event, so that's what Dar is, right? So Dar is just dark magic, is just crushing the winds together. But then, of course, there's a bunch of other different lores of magic. Generally speaking, when you're looking at other lores of magic, they come about one of two ways. One way that winds of magic come about is that it is a very deliberate and particular mixture of two different lores of magic. So it is someone purposefully taking one lore of magic and combining it with another in order to produce a new form of magic. This is relatively rare to see because wielding more than one wind of magic is incredibly difficult and takes like exceptional mastery and understanding of every single wind that you're messing with. But that is how many like very new powerful spells are created. That's how a lot of really important things happen. More broadly speaking, when you are dealing with new winds of magic, so like the lore of the Little Wa and the Big Wa, or the lore of any of the Chaos Gods, when you're dealing with any of those, more often what you are dealing with is that the winds of magic are not being channeled through the wizard themselves in a traditional sense. Where like when you're dealing with like an empire wizard or an elf wizard or a swan who's wielding like a very particular wind of magic, what they're normally doing is they are reaching out for a very specific wind, and they are basically calling upon and wielding that wind and that wind alone, and ignoring the others. But they are actively making those decisions. When you're dealing with like the lore of the Big Wa and the Little Wa, what you're dealing with are shamans. And what shamans do is shamans are more akin to priests, where what they do is they reach out, when they reach out into the winds without often fully realizing it, and instead of utilizing the power themselves, so like taking the winds of magic, shaping it into a spell and casting it on their enemy,